Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being here with me on this Sunday. It is a pretty nice day here in San Diego. So, if you are joining me live, or even if you're watching this later on, go ahead and comment. You can post in the chat live and let me know you're here. Let me know where you are joining me from. Tell me a little bit about you and your dog and why you joined this particular live stream. I am, let's see, waiting for my I've got my iPad over here to make sure that the video looks good, so I'm just waiting for it to catch up. Okay, good. So I want to make sure you can hear me, and yeah, let me know what you're here for. If you have a specific question, I would love to hear it. I'm going to go ahead and post in the chat as well. So if you don't know where the chat is, I am getting ready to post there. Thank you for being here today. So yeah, let me know a little bit about you and your dog. There we go. So, hi Jennifer, thanks so much for being here. So I hope the audio is good. It looks like the video is good. I just have my iPad over here checking. It looks like the video is good. Just let me, know that you can hear me. Okay, JR says it looks good and that he can hear me. Awesome. So today, guys, we are talking about building your dog's confidence. And just in case you're ever wondering, generally the way that I plan out what I'm going to be talking to you guys about, I'm looking through social media and just trying to get ideas of what people are talking about, the questions people have. But oftentimes, people will actually come directly to me on social media and ask me questions, whether that's in the group or on Patreon or wherever it may be. And while I, do my best to answer questions, through text, sometimes it can be a little bit more difficult. And that's what happened this week, is that somebody asked me a question and they had two dogs. One of them is a collie mix and was showing some pretty obvious, in my opinion, signs of needing a job to do. Because when you have a dog that has a really, it's really bred in them that this is the job that they're supposed to be doing in life, and they're just provided a very sedentary life, they start finding ways to do that job. So it was like they were using the other dog in the home to kind of get that job done. So, thank you. Thank you, JR. So, my husband is here with us, guys. His name is JR, and he's over. If you check the chat where it says JR Fisher Training, that's actually his YouTube channel. He teaches people how to start, run, and grow online businesses. So once this video is done, if you click on his name over in the chat, you can go check out his channel as well on YouTube if you're interested in learning how to start, run, and grow an online business. So basically, a lot of dogs can really benefit from having a job to do. And there are certain dogs out there. In fact, I was actually just getting to this part. If you are a patron, so if you follow me over on Patreon, they call them patrons. That I've already started the post for today, so I'm gonna get that out to you guys. Hopefully a little bit earlier today than I did last week. But so I've already started the post, and that was the part I was just getting to. There are different types of dogs out there, and there are different types of jobs out there to give your dog to do. Now, building confidence in our dogs, regardless of the dog, is extremely important for so many reasons. When we increase confidence, we reduce anxiety, we reduce a lot of behavioral problems. They are problems in that they're frustrating to us as humans, and it's really frustrating for a dog because they're not living their best life, right? When they have these things going on. So benefits of rewarding your dog for good behavior in general. So you can just start out with training your dog. Like if you haven't even done any training with your dog, positive reinforcement training is going to help build confidence in your dog. So that's one way in which we can help our dog build confidence, because essentially it's kind of like a little mini job, because essentially we're requesting something of our dog. When they get it right, we're paying them for it by giving them a reward. So it's like essentially a little mini job, and that in turn helps build confidence in our dogs. Caroline says, hi, I have a rehome 3-year-old Great Dane. Separation anxiety and pulling on the lead are my problems. I'm in the UK. Caroline, I'm glad you're here. So I actually do have a couple of videos on my channel about separation anxiety, because to be honest, that's how I got into like figuring out dog training to begin with. When we adopted Kim, she had some pretty bad, it wasn't terrible, but it was bad enough separation anxiety that it concerned me, and I wanted to learn about it. I wanted to help her. And Milena De Martini Price is like the world's leading expert on separation anxiety in dogs. So I bought her book, I read through it cover to cover, and then I went back through it after I read it and pulled out everything I needed to do. And we started doing that with her. It was incredible how quickly we saw changes in her behavior. So there are a couple of videos on my channel about separation anxiety. So if you, of course you can search the channel, or you can also reach out to me. If you check the link in the description to join me over on Patreon, I also have files on Patreon that kind of summarize everything that you need to do to work with a dog with separation anxiety. So that's kind of actually how I got into the field to begin with years and years ago. JR says, we had a dog with separation anxiety too, Caroline, and Jessica fixed it. Yeah, so I totally understand where you're coming from, and pulling on the lead, so all of that is actually covered in my course, but I also have videos on my channel that kind of go through, briefly how to work with your dog pulling on the lead. So you can definitely reach out to me. I can provide you with links to those videos. You can join me on Patreon. We can talk about it. I can get you all the links, get you the files in the group and that are over on Patreon. So I'd love to be able to help you out with that, even though we're not in the same place. That's the beauty of the internet, right? Where was I with building? Okay, so the very first thing that literally anybody can do is to train with using positive reinforcement with your dog, because that's like little mini jobs for your dog. Yeah, Angela. So are you on Patreon, Angela? Let me know. Or I apologize. I should know if you've joined me over on Patreon. I'm going to be posting about, again, what we're talking about today and more on Patreon. If you are a patron, then you already know what's going on. If you're not yet, if you haven't yet joined me on Patreon, I actually have an announcement at the end of this video, so make sure you stick in to the end of this video, because I have an announcement about Patreon. So yeah, stick with me on that. So training using positive reinforcement is like it's like giving your dog tasks, right? And then they get rewarded, they get paid with rewards, generally treats, for getting that task right. But there are some dogs, in fact, I think most dogs really could benefit from actually having a job, but there are some dogs out there that just hands down need a job to do. And excuse me one second, guys. Oh, I don't know if it's allergies or what. I'm just feeling super congested today. Okay. Angela says, I can't get on Patreon. It just goes to first page. Okay, Angela, I'm gonna, that's interesting. I think I have your email, Angela, so I'll send you an email. In fact, let me make a note to myself to send you an email. Email Angela. Okay, so I just made a note to myself to email you, Angela, and see if we can work that out for you. So I can get you all of that information. Okay, so some dogs just hands down need a for real job to do. And of course, before I started my dog training journey, I could not, if somebody had come to me and said, your dog needs a job, I've been like, dogs don't work at Walmart or McDonald's, right? Like, what are you talking about? And that makes sense. Like, if you're not in the field, if you haven't really been exposed to it, totally get that, because I was there, not too terribly long ago. I was there with you. I get it. But when we break it down, when we look at what we refer to as a job, your dog performs an action or a behavior, generally an action is what we're looking for. And in return for that action, they get paid. So they get some sort of reward, right? It doesn't have to be money like it is with us, but they are getting paid in the form of a reward for doing that action. Not only do they get benefit of doing that action, but then we also reward them, pay them, right? So the benefits of giving your dog a job are that, it's stimulating your dog's mind, and also whatever that action is providing physical exercise generally for your dog as well. So when we are stimulating our dog's mind, when we're stimulating their brain, they are much less likely to misbehave. And I say that with air quotes, because that's really, in our minds, misbehaving, but for your dog, they're just getting energy out. So for what we consider misbehaving. Also, when your dog has a job to do, again, generally that is some sort of action, they are a lot less likely to get fat. So they tend to be healthier all around. And here's the really important part. Having a job actually increases your dog's confidence level, and it helps decrease their anxiety level. So that can be a huge benefit of giving your dog a job, especially in today's world, in today's society. We have asked our dogs to be so incredibly sedentary in their lifestyle. And while some dogs seem to adapt pretty well to it, other dogs do not. But also when you work with your dog, it helps strengthen the bond that you two share. So that's really a great benefit of giving your dog a job as well. So figuring out what kind of job to give your dog, there are a bunch of different factors in figuring out what kind of job your dog wants. And generally, one of the first things we do is look at, okay, what breed or breeds is your dog made up of? Because there are a lot of breeds that were bred to do a specific sort of job. Now, I'm going to go over what some of these jobs are with you guys, but even if you have a dog that is a certain breed that was bred to do a certain thing, if your dog is telling you that that's not the job that's going to reward them, right? Then that's okay, because we want to work with, we want to feed the dog in front of us. We want to train the dog in front of us. We want to work with the dog in front of us. So it's really important to listen to your dog, but we can start, the starting point can be, well, what breed or breeds is my dog made up of? And let's start there. So there are dogs that were specifically bred for herding. So, herding dogs, they actually were bred generally cows, sheep, different living animals. They were bred to actually take a group of other creatures, living animals, and direct them where they need to go. So if your dog barks at running kids, or whether it's at, in the neighborhood or at a park, they chase the tires of moving cars, these are herding tendencies. So if you pay attention to some of the things your dog does, tendencies to herding would be like running at, chasing at kids that are playing, chasing at moving cars, tires of vehicles. Those are very much aligned with herding tendencies. Then there are dogs that were bred for sniffing. So if these dogs use, all dogs use their nose to gather information, but these dogs, you are going to notice their nose is always on the ground. So if your dog is constantly sniffing the ground or even the air, if it's noticeable, your dog is a sniffer, right? Other dogs were bred for retrieving. So they actually, if your dog just cannot get enough of you throwing the ball and then bringing it back to you, you've probably got a retriever in your house, right? And then again, there are other animals that were just bred for companionship, which is great. These dogs can still have jobs as maybe therapy animals, emotional support animals. There are programs where you can sign your dog up to go into nursing homes or to go into hospitals and just comfort people there. So even if you think you have a little couch potato, that doesn't mean that your couch potato can't have a job as well. There are some dogs that were bred for guarding, and these dogs are going to be, just constantly barking that, whether you're getting a mail delivery or they're just constantly seeking out the squirrels or the rabbits in your yard. They bark their heads off. These are guarding dogs. And these dogs are doing their job, by the way. Other dogs are super strong pullers. So it doesn't, you may see dogs like sled dogs, right? They are pullers. So it doesn't matter if you tie a sled to them or some sort of cart, or even if it's just you on the end of the leash. These dogs have to pull, and there are jobs for them too. Then there are dogs that were actually bred for rescuing, so they actually find animals or people maybe in avalanches or earthquakes. So if your dog brings things to you, like toys, stuffed bunnies, maybe even bunnies from out in the yard, then you may have a rescuer on your hands. So let me just check and see what we've got. Jennifer says, yes, that Scout, he sniffs all the time, and he is a retriever. That's awesome. So I don't know, Jennifer, if you have a hunter in your family, he may, I don't know, he may, like a duck hunter. If you have anybody in your family like that, he might actually enjoy going and retrieving ducks. If you have, like I said, if you have a duck hunter in the family or some sort of bird hunter. But if he prefers sniffing over retrieving, then maybe some scent work would be great for him. So we'll talk about that in just a bit too. So what are some great jobs out there for dogs? And dependent upon what kind of dog you think you have as well. Like I was just saying, nose work or scent work is great for dogs who really love to use their nose, who are just smelling everything. So nose work is one thing you can do, and I'm not going to get into how to train your dog to do all of these things. We can talk about that a little bit later, especially on Patreon, but these are some ideas of jobs that you can give your dog. And I think nose work is great for a lot of dogs, even those dogs that are more sedentary in the house, because it's something you and your dog can do together. And while not every dog is going to be like Olympic level sniffers, meaning they're not going to be drug dogs or bomb detecting dogs, that doesn't mean that your dog can't enjoy some scent work or nose work in the home. But that's basically like the dogs that are out there sniffing out drugs or sniffing out bombs or sniffing out cancer in people. It starts with, I mean, it's all scent work. It's all nose work. It's just a matter of like how good the dog is at it, and the actual training that goes into it. Generally, dogs that do that start from puppies. They're evaluated from puppies on up, and then by the time they get to generally between 1 and 2 years old, they know if that dog is going to be a good fit for whatever program they were bred to do. Most of them don't actually make it all the way through to real training, which generally, again, it depends on the program, but generally doesn't start until around 2 years old. Though, like I said, just from puppies, they are kind of groomed into that position. So, but that doesn't mean your dog can't enjoy it. Hide and seek is another great, it's a game, but it also can be a job for your dog. So, this is one that, if you have worked really well with your dog and they do really well off leash, which not a lot of dogs actually do, but if they do well off leash, you have worked really well with them, then you can actually hide things for your dog, and you can do this indoors too. So if you don't want to do it off leash, if your dog isn't great off leash, you can do this indoors. So you can actually hide things for your dog and have your dog find them. This is really great for rescue dogs, like dogs that are constantly bringing things to you. So yeah, that's another really great thing. Toss and run is another great job. So you get your dog like really interested in something, a toy, maybe a ball, and then you toss it, and your dog, you can actually start running towards it, and your dog runs towards it. That's another great job for your dog, is to actually go and retrieve that item. Chasing can be a rewarding job for some dogs, specifically herding dogs. So if you have a dog that just loves chasing cars, loves chasing kids around, your dog is really gonna love all of that chasing going on. Of course, there are actual programs out there. Generally, you have to pay to, because it's just like if you were to join a gym or some sort of training program. There are, barn hunts. You can actually, if you live out in an area that may have farms, there are programs out there where you can, if you have a herding dog, you can take them out there to herd sheep or cattle or whatever it may be. And that can be really rewarding for your dog. There are also other activities like for retrieving dogs, specifically like if I could talk, I still can't talk. Dock diving is another like physical activity sport that is out there. I think I said barn hunts is another good one for some dogs. So there are actually lots of different programs out there depending on what kind of dog you have. But finding a job that is going to fit well with your dog is going to just provide them such a sense of accomplishment and build their confidence, reduce anxiety, reduce that bad behavior that we don't want to see in our dogs around the house. It's going to keep them in shape. It's going to keep them healthy. A dogga is another thing, which is yoga for dogs. So this is something you can do with your dog. So if you have one of those companion dogs who just love to cuddle and snuggle and be with you, like I was saying earlier, there are programs where you can take your dog into a hospital or maybe a nursing home. But dog yoga is another great way to help your dog build confidence and actually use what they were bred to do. Playing tug with your dog is another, you can turn that into a job with your dog. Teaching your dog to speak is actually considered a job. So if you catch your dog like getting ready to bark, and you start giving the cue to speak, and then once you start getting good at it and you get your dog to speak in different scenarios, different situations, they may even alter their bark. So teaching your dog to speak on cue can be really super fun. There's also different ways of teaching your dog to speak. I've been following on Instagram for probably a couple of years now a dog named Stella, and her owner, gosh, I wish I could think of her name. It's not coming to me at the moment. She wrote a book that is coming out next month, so I already have it on pre-order because I'm so interested. She is a speech pathologist who works with children. She actually, I think they used to live in San Diego, and I think recently moved. So she worked with children who wouldn't talk for whatever reason. Either they never would talk, or something traumatic happened and then they stopped talking. And one of the ways that apparently they teach or reteach children to speak is by giving them buttons to push. And those buttons, like, you have pre-recorded to just say one, maybe two words, generally one word at a time. And she decided that she was going to try it out with her dog, Stella. And so now Stella has this huge board with, I don't know, probably 40 or so, and they keep adding to it buttons that all say different things. And Stella communicates by going and pushing the buttons, and oh my goodness, this dog is just, I mean, it is amazing to see the things that she thinks about and wants to communicate, and then to think about, you have a dog too, and I bet your dog has all of those same feelings and thoughts and wants to communicate these things to you. So teaching your dog to speak, again, there are multiple ways to do that. Let's see. Caroline says, I had a Great Dane that was a PAT Pets as therapy dog. That's awesome. She was brilliant in nursing homes. They all loved her. That's wonderful. So you have some experience with working dogs, which is amazing, even though it's not like what a lot of people think of as a working dog. A therapy dog is a working dog. So that's amazing. There are lots, again, there are so many more jobs out there that you can give a dog. Rescue Me for those rescue dogs. You can actually crawl under the covers and like yell to your dog to help, and see how long it takes your dog to like find you and join you under the covers. That's a cute one. Chasing squirrels, teaching your dog to put away their toys by cleaning up their toys. That's another great job to give your dog, and that is good for retrieving dogs. Let's see, following along. So following you, that's actually something you can teach your dog. I know a lot of dogs follow their owners anyway, but some dogs don't. And then there are actually dogs that you want to, it sounds counterintuitive, but sometimes if you're having an issue with a behavior your dog is doing, teaching them to do that behavior will actually help break it, because then they have a time where it's appropriate to do it, and then other times where it's not. So that's actually one way to teach your dog to stop barking, is to actually teach them to bark. So teach them to bark on cue, and then to quiet down. Because once you teach them to do something, you can teach them to stop doing that same thing. So if you have a dog that follows you too much, teaching them to follow you is actually a good way to then break that habit, because then you can teach them to follow you and then to stop following you. So there are tons. There are even dog lifeguards out there, so that's another job So tons and tons and tons of jobs out there that your dog can be taught how to do. And your dog doesn't have to have just one job. You can teach your dog lots of different jobs. But yeah, it's a really great way to help build confidence in your dog. And by building confidence in our dog, we are defeating so many other things, right? Laziness. If your dog is obese or overweight, it can help them to get to a healthy weight. We are increasing confidence. We are decreasing anxiety, which in turn decreases misbehaving. So those, bad behaviors around the house, whether they're, digging in your closet and pulling shoes out and chewing on them. These are all signs your dog is telling you they're bored. They're telling you they have anxiety. They're telling you that they need more in life. So there are so many things we can do. Again, it starts with training, positive reinforcement training, but then there are, so many wonderful things that we can do. So before we wrap this up, I have a couple of things. I did tell you guys that I have an announcement to make, and I'm going to be emailing my list. If you're not on my email list, you can reach out to me, and I can add you to my email list. I'm going to be sending out emails this week. I am doing a giveaway in the month of April, and all you have to do is join me over on Patreon. That's all you have to do. There are 4 tiers to choose from, so you can choose the tier that's right for you depending on the level of me you need, basically. So 4 different tiers. Choose the tier that is right for you. It doesn't matter which tier you choose. At the end of April, every single person that is following me on Patreon will be entered into a drawing. I'm going to be giving away your choice of either an Apple gift card or a Google Play gift card. And so I will send it to you electronically, so it doesn't matter where in the world you are from. I will just email you the information for the gift card, so it doesn't have to be mailed to you or anything like that. But if you are already a patron, you're already entered. So Jennifer, you're already entered. If you have not joined me on Patreon, go ahead and join me. Again, like I said, there are 4 different tiers for you to choose from to join. And at the end of April, so the last day of April, I am just going to I'm going to put all of you into a random number generator and randomly choose one person to win. And it will be your choice, because I know if I say it's an Apple gift card, you may not use Apple. Or if I say it's a Google Play gift card, you may not have an Android system. So it's your choice of either an Apple or a Google Play gift card. And if you have anyone at all, friend, family, acquaintance, who has a pet and can benefit from learning any of the information that I put out, definitely refer them over to Patreon. And tell them to follow me. Again, there are 4 different tiers to choose from. Choose the one that is right for you. Jennifer gave me the clapping hands. So in addition, regardless of this, the gift card giveaway, when you join me on Patreon, you get tons of files that I was talking about earlier. They are PDF downloads and different infographics that give you additional information. On Patreon, I post new and exclusive content that you don't get anywhere else. So there's just so much great information. January 2021, we started the Pet Food Challenge, and I actually posted a video on YouTube kicking off the Pet Food Challenge, but we have actually been continuing the Pet Food Challenge all throughout the year over on Patreon. So I've been trying to do it weekly. It was dependent on what other information I had to put out, but I pick a food item and tell you the benefits of it, why you should be feeding it to your dog, and just all of the great, vitamins and minerals that may be in that particular food item, and what you're going to notice different in your dog once you start feeding it. So I think this last week, if I'm not mistaken, was sardines. Was it sardines? I don't know. I've done like eggs and sardines. I think I did blueberries. So anyway, we've been going over throughout the year the benefits of different fresh foods to feed your dog. And yeah, so I do hope you check it out. If you have any friends or family who have pets can benefit from this information, again, refer them over to my Patreon as well as this YouTube channel, because at the end of April, everyone who is on my Patreon is going to be entered into the drawing. And again, you get to choose between an Apple or a Google Play gift card. And so yeah, I hope you all join me over there on Patreon. Let everybody know just how wonderful all of the great content is. Jennifer says, by the way, today is National Pet Day. I did not know that. Thank you so much for telling me. I knew yesterday was National Sibling Day, and I was just so busy yesterday I didn't even get around. I did talk to my siblings on Friday, so I hope that counts, but as thinking of them. I also want to, so what are you doing for National Pet Day? Since today is National Pet Day, we'll talk about that for a minute. Go ahead and post in the comments and let me know. You can also, once you join me on Patreon, you can actually, so there are two ways you can join in the conversation on Patreon. On any post I make, you can comment. And then, as Jennifer will tell you, if you comment, I can reply to you and we can get like a conversation going. I also have Discord set up and connected to Patreon. So we can actually have like full-on chats, and people in all of my patrons just automatically, you do have to sign up for it, but it's free. It connects directly with Patreon, so you will automatically have access to my Discord server, and we can all talk to each other back and forth. So there's actually a lot going on over there on Patreon, and we can talk a little bit more about National Pet Day over there as well. I also want to remind you, at the beginning of this video, I told you, click on my husband. It's JR Fisher Training. He has commented on this video a couple of times. You can actually click on his name on his profile, which will take you directly to his YouTube channel if you have a need or an interest. And I think after last year, a lot of us have an interest in starting running and growing an online business. He has a ton of information on his YouTube channel, so definitely check him out. I also, in case you didn't know, have another YouTube channel. It is called Home Sweet Farmhouse, and you can either type that into YouTube or you can click my link tree in the description, and on my link tree, when you get to it, you'll see a bunch of different links. You can go and find the one that says, my home channel on YouTube, Home Sweet Farmhouse, and click and go directly to it. Today's video was my desk declutter. So my desk in my office had gotten horrible, and I just wanted to kind of give you guys an update what I did. I recorded that video like a month ago, and I have been using the new system, my new like paper system, for like at least the last month, and it is still working out really, really well for me. So I definitely, like, if you need to do some organizing in your house, if you need some motivation, check out my other channel. I actually have a lot of different like organizational videos and just other like home videos in general, DIYs and things like that. Definitely go check that out as well. JR says, today is also National Barbershop Quartet Day. I didn't know they needed their own day. I don't know how many of them are actually left, but that is interesting. Home Sweet Farmhouse is a great DIY channel. Thank you so much. Angela, if Bounce jumps and I make him sit and reward, is this correct? Yes. So if you ask your dog to do something and they do it, reward it, because that is the behavior you want them to do, right? So whatever your dog is doing, whether they're just chilling or they're actually engaged in an activity that you are trying to break that behavior, like jumping, like you were just saying, if you ask him to do something different, like sit, because your dog can't jump and sit at the same time, right? So if you then ask your dog to sit and he actually does it, then Bounce deserves that reward. Absolutely. Like immediately reward. Even if his butt just hits the ground for a second, give him that second and really praise him. And then the next time around, you want 2 seconds. And then the next time around, you want 3 seconds, right? So we want to reward that behavior that we want to see in our dog. Absolutely, Angela. That is wonderful. Thank you for asking that question. And I hope anybody else watching that answer helps you as well. JR says, is he jumping because his name is Bounce? I bet. It's like Tigger, right? He couldn't help but bounce around on that tail. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here with me today. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Caroline, Angela, Jennifer, JR, all of you. I appreciate you for being here and for participating. It makes these live videos go so much smoother when you actually participate and comment. Don't forget to join me over on Patreon. If you are not already, Angela, I will be emailing you. I put it on my to-do list. I will be emailing you after I get today's Patreon post out, which is going to be a summary. So this is what happens on Patreon. At least once a week, I post all new content that you're not getting anywhere else. I'm trying right now. I'm trying really hard to get that up to twice a week. And then on Sundays, whatever we talk about on our live video, I summarize that, and then I go even more into detail about what today's video was. So if you're on here on YouTube and you're like, I'm enjoying this content and I want more, Patreon is the place for you to be. Angela says that's how he got his name, and Jennifer laughed. I did too. So awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here with me today. Again, check all of the links in the description. If you have any questions at all, reach out to me. That's what I'm here for. Yes, I hope to see you on Patreon. Let everybody else know at the end of April, everybody on my Patreon is entered in a random giveaway. Again, it's either going to be whatever you choose, Apple or Google gift card. And yes, so make sure to refer people over there. And if you are not already a patron, definitely join me over there. Choose the tier that is best for you. And I will see you guys later. Thank you so much for joining me. Yeah, talk to you guys later on. Have a great Sunday. Bye.